And this is one of my partners and co-authors, Jaye Smith, and we are thrilled to be with you this evening. For some of you, it's afternoon. Some of you, it may be morning or middle of the night, and we're thrilled that wherever you are, that you've chosen to join us. We are here in the 5th series of the Design for Social Innovation at the School for Visual Arts. And we have the chair of the program is with us. She'll be here later if any of you have questions, because in fact, the priority applications deadline is the end of this month. So some of you may have questions about that, as well as the topic that we're going to speak about this evening. We have spent the last 4 years studying and writing a book and researching how do people find their passion, stay relevant, and stay engaged in enjoying what they're doing in work as well as in life. And we love this quote: live as if you will die tomorrow and learn as if you will live forever. Our goal in the next 50 minutes or so, probably less than that because we want to make sure we have lots of time for Q&A, is to share with you some of our experience that may help you clarify what you want to do in this next phase of your career. We want to help you understand how you can make that happen and how you can also remove obstacles, and we'll give a few tips for making a plan to take a reboot break so that you can attend programs such as this fantastic one. You know, if you think about it, we tune up so many things in life. You tune up or reboot your PC regularly. For those of you who have a car, we certainly tune that up at least once a year, if not more often. If you have an apartment or a home, you tune up your home heaters. Even most of us go for a physical once a year. But what do we do for our spirit? What do we do to reboot and to tune up our spirit? And we are just as important to our families, to our business, to the place where we work, and our friends. And so therefore, taking time out to follow your passion is something that we just feel so strongly about. So who are we? There are 4 sabbatical sisters. We dubbed ourselves that. We met just at a conference. We didn't know one another. We come from different parts of the United States, but we share a passion, we found out, for taking time off work. Some of us took time off and went back to the same company. Many of us used it as time to transition to other careers. Jaye, for example, wouldn't be the president of the coaching company that she runs right now if she hadn't left the previous company she in fact started and took a year off. I've taken 4 sabbaticals. Some of them I went back to the same company, and some I used it to transition into a totally new field. Catherine Allen, Kathy, who is one of our other co-authors and partners, has been in the financial services industry for many, many years. She's taken 3 sabbaticals. And Nancy Berg comes out of the government field. She was a national security advisor for one of the vice presidents and has worked in State Department, Defense Department. So you can see we're from all sorts of different walks of life, but again, passionate about the power of when you pursue your passion, what it can do to your work output and your friendships. So we wrote a book called Reboot Your Life: Energize Your Career and Life by Taking a Break. It came out in April. Since then, we've been on the speaking tour. We've had lots of articles and radio and TV shows and now webinars, and we're thrilled to be here. The book talks about our own experience, but we also interviewed over 300 individuals who have taken reboot breaks or sabbaticals, and we talked to over 50 corporations who have formal paid-for sabbatical programs. We also offer individual retreats. We're doing 4 this year in various parts of the country for people who want a personalized plan. And we do webinars such as this. Our website is listed at the bottom, www.rebootbreak.com, and there's lots more tips on some of the things we're going to talk about today. Why do we need a reboot break? You know, the statistics, no matter what you read, and it's almost coming out daily, is pretty scary. 84% of U.S. employees want to leave their jobs. 63% of Americans work more than 40 hours a week and give back $21 billion in unused vacation days. I want some of those days. For those of you who are non-U.S., we apologize. We're showing just U.S. statistics here, but the trend runs the same for wherever you are in the world. Many people are leaving because of dissatisfaction. We even had one survey that talked about the number of people that are actually wanting to sabotage their work, which is very, very sad. And the rate of illness due to stress is just incredible because we're out of sync with what we know our passion could be. And this is compounded by baby boomers can't retire the way they used to, which means that Gen X can't move up and they want new options. Gen Y wants lots of choices. In recent surveys with Gen Y, they'd rather have time off and flexibility than more money, in fact. And we're at a 3-year low in employee morale. So we're going to let Jaye talk about why hopefully you're here.
Yeah, well, as Rita said, we're very excited to be here. And I think our work is very much in alignment with what we're here talking about. What you're probably considering right now is this the right program for you? How can you use it to enhance your own lives, your own career, and pursue your passions and the dreams that you have for yourself in terms of the impact you want to make in the world? So, some of the things we were thinking about in terms of asking is, are you, and you can answer these for yourself, are you stressed out or overwhelmed at work and life, and do you need a break? That's one of the categories of people that follow the pursuit of taking a reboot break. Are you thinking about leaving or changing jobs or your profession? Are you thinking about retiring perhaps and pursuing a whole new encore career, the next chapter in your life, but retiring from what you're doing now and thinking about what the next phase of your life is going to be? And are you in between jobs perhaps and now thinking that this is a great opportunity to figure out what it is you really want to do next, and perhaps this program is one of those things that will help you to fulfill your life's dreams and goals? Or do you want to follow a passion before you feel it's too late? And that's a pressure that we put on ourselves, not necessarily a reality, but which is why I love the quote also that Rita started with is, to learn as though you're going to live forever. So I'm wondering if there's anybody out there who has taken a sabbatical before and who has taken that break and done so for some of the reasons that we've just asked. And you can either respond and tell us through the computer. But think about that. Have you ever taken time off? And if you've done so, what were the rewards that you came away with? What did it do for you? What did it give back to you? Some of the concerns that we find, when we're out there talking to people about a reboot break and taking a sabbatical, and sabbaticals, the reboot break we recoined because when people think of sabbaticals, they often think of only academic sabbaticals, and we of course are talking about a much broader use of the term. So a reboot break is a time to pursue either taking care of yourself or pursuing career enhancement, and we'll talk more about that. But some of the main concerns that people have raised to Rita and I is when we're out there, and to our other authors, when we're out there interviewing them for even creating the book, where one was, I can't afford it. That was the first step. I can't afford to do that. The other is, well, I'm concerned about my career. What if I take a step away and my job isn't there when I come back? I would lose clients. I'd lose customers. I'd lose the momentum that I built in my career. And there's a whole bunch of others that some of you may have out there. And what we have found that, and we'll talk a little bit about that, is that there's always a way to finance it. And there's lots of creative ways in which we'll talk about. We have found that every single person that we interviewed came back and had better career opportunities, had a more enhanced and enriched career, and not one single person that we've ever spoken to has regretted taking the time off. In fact, are looking forward to and wanting to plan their next one now. And we've got lots of examples of corporations who have
in fact, actually make it mandatory to take time off because they see the benefit of it, rejuvenating their employees, creating more innovation, more excitement about their work, more re-engagement when they come back into the workplace. Excuse me, Jay, we did get an answer to the question, just so people know it. Of the people who chose to respond, 33% or a third have taken a sabbatical and 66 or 2/3 have not. Good, thank you for responding. So that's kind of interesting, and I think that I'm grateful and happy to hear that 33% of you have in fact done it, and at some point would love to talk to you more about your experiences. Sorry, just turning the page. So, we've briefly outlined the book chapters here for you, not so much to talk about the book, but as well as the process of the thinking about taking time off and taking the break. And one is really thinking about it as giving yourself the gift of time. And there's nothing more precious and more valuable than time that you give to yourself, and most of us don't do that. And that goes back to the wellness issue that Rita was talking about, that we do make ourselves sick by not listening to our body and listening to our hearts and following those. We then talk about the different types of sabbatical and the different reasons, the why people do it and what is it they want to get from that experience. The other is planning, and planning was probably the one category, an area that people said if they were to do it differently, they would have planned even more. So that's really critical, to plan your time and to enroll in a program in time for it to start, and do the things that you need to do to make your dreams come true. Then funding your freedom, the phases of navigating the first 30 days of your time off, your time away from work. We've got a lot of interesting data and information about what happens to people when they're stepping away, what their adrenaline does to their body as it's being released. We also talk about the heart of the sabbatical. Stages are reconnection and exploration. Talk about, now that you've renewed and you recharge your batteries, now what? Where do you go with that experience and what you've learned from that? How do you incorporate that? How do you deflect sabbatical robbers, people who are a little nervous about you taking that time off and might drain you and take you away from your focus and priorities? How do you deal with family members, loved ones, spouses, partners? You're taking a what? What about me? Can I come with you? Was often the response. And the other is how to live the lifelong sabbatical. So take the lessons learned and incorporate them into your life going forward. And we'll talk about this throughout, but just it helps repeating over and over again. These are the benefits of taking time off, and these are just some of them, and there are quite a few, but really critical. One is that you are healthier. There was one person who we interviewed talked about the fact that she could no longer stuff her emotional closet with all of the burdens and feelings that she had about losses and things that had occurred to her, and she could no longer close that door. So she had to take a break and leave what she was doing. You're smarter about your priorities. You're more resilient. You're more balanced. You are more knowledgeable about yourself and the world around you because you have time to actually stop and think about things. You're more creative. You're more strategic. You are more fun to be around. You have more time to spend with friends and family, and that's often the biggest regret that people have, is that they have neglected their friends and families because they have dedicated 110% of their time to their job. More connected to yourself and to others, and you're able to develop skills that if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, there's no room to fill ourselves up with new ideas and new information and make ourselves more resilient, and certainly definitely connects you with your dreams and your passions. In the book, and we're not going to go into detail on this, we outline several motivations and types of sabbaticals. Everyone here, or most of the people on the call, are here to talk about career enhancement. But you may have friends and family, uncles, aunts, whatever, that you want to also tell them some of these concepts. Some use it just as a course correction in life, and they want to reinvent themselves. Some are family related. Some people all of a sudden had a very ill parent or an ill sister, or someone that they felt they wanted time off to be able to care for. Some had gone through maybe a divorce or something upsetting in their life, and so they were there for emotional healing. Some people, I'm one of them, I was just craving to have time off work to volunteer. I love volunteering. My work was such that it was, 60-hour, it felt like a day, let alone a week. And I wanted time to go do some, 3 months at a time to do volunteering projects. Some want it just to enhance their life and try new skills and all of a sudden retap your creative energy. Some are doing it because they're thinking of retiring maybe in 3 to 5 years and want to test the waters and maybe go live in another city for a few months and see what it's like and try some new courses. We also have the unexpected sabbatical. Those are people who are laid off. And the worst thing you can do is be laid off on a Friday and go put your resume out on a street on Monday. You need time to be angry, to mourn, but also to turn what can be the greatest gift of time, no matter how tragic this is, and use this time to spend time thinking, maybe there's another passion in life that I was never allowed to follow. And between gigs is just people who decide to take off and say, I don't know what I want to do next, but I want to try a few things. And I think most of you are here because you're looking to enhance your career and follow your passion. And what a better way if most of you or many of you are designers, and to combine that with giving back to our world and doing it in a sustainable way around design is just phenomenal. As Jay said, getting started, and we're going to talk about these as kind of the key subcategories. The key was planning for it. How do you plan for it? We'll give you a few tips. We're not going to go through it all. Our book has lots of planning checklists. Paying for it, we'll give you, again, a few tips of how you might fund this. Lot more elsewhere. Jay's then going to talk about communicating who, what, where, when, how. Also spend a couple minutes on handling the naysayers, and by the way, and dealing with sabbatical robbers. And these are tips that you can carry through the rest of your life. Those people who drain you, and how do you want to deal with them? Mm-hmm. As Jay said, we polled people for negatives. We said, what was bad about your year off, or your 6 months off, or your 2 years off? Only thing they said is, we wish we had spent more time planning. We encourage you, for those of you who have not firmly made the decision yet of taking time off, take a walk outside in some place that's beautiful, and spend about 15-20 minutes just walking. And we do want you to walk at the same time if you can, because there's something how your mind connects with the free flow of thoughts as you are physically moving. And we want to visualize yourself, and someone has come up to you and said, you have the next 2 years off. You have no financial constraints. You have no concerns about job reentry. What would that look like? And if you had time off, we often do this with also 3 months, but since we're talking about this program, what might it look like? What might be some of your major goals? And often just allowing yourself to dream and not look at the obstacles is the first way to make something happen. Then come back and actually write that down. What did it feel like when you were on that time off? And what was going through your mind? Decide how much time to take off. Figure out financial resources you need and other support resources you need. Who do you need to tell? Is travel included during some of your school breaks or not? Obviously, you want to plan the outline, the timelines. You do want to spend time identifying fears and preempting them. And also remember to schedule downtime for yourself. You don't want to go rushing from one thing to total consumption and maniac rushing to another. You want balance in all that you do. The best way, obviously, to fund this is to get your employer to pay. And those of you are laughing, saying, my employer. You'd be surprised there are many. We list on our website, as well as our book, we know of over 135 companies that do pay for sabbaticals and still keep your health benefits. And that doesn't include sabbaticals for education, which this is. The number would be much larger. And if your company feels, this is someone I run the risk of losing anyway, and this way they may come back and they're going to be a better employer and they're going to come back with some great ideas. They may just fund it for you, but you won't know if you don't ask. The next thing is to save ahead of time. You've got till September, for those of you that are signing up this year. Create a sabbatical account. We could just take Starbucks, for those of you who drink $5 coffees. Imagine if every day you took that and instead had one less coffee. Just do the math of what it adds up to. And you could do that with so many things in life. You can also turn to friends and family and say, instead of giving me that birthday gift, would you please donate to my sabbatical fund? Instead of giving me that holiday gift, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, would you instead donate to my sabbatical fund? You can get paid for work while you're on sabbatical, and I'll come back with a couple of ideas. You can use a windfall. Some of you may have been lucky enough to join a great startup company that went public and you made some money from the stock. Some of you may have, a wonderful aunt or uncle who left you a little bit of a inheritance. Most of us don't have that. Set a budget and live within it. And it's okay if you borrow from your savings if you have a plan to pay that back once you are out in the workforce again in 2 years. And many people we interviewed did that. It is not okay to take from retirement or to take from healthcare. We really believe you need to keep those going. Financial planning tips. Many of you rent a place now, or some of you may be lucky enough to own your home or apartment. Rent it out or swap it with someone. Prepay your big expenditures. Get them down so there's no interest. Sell assets you don't use. I love yard sales. Consignment stores. We all have too much. And it's amazing how much money you can make by having a simple yard sale. Go back to memberships. For those of you who belong to sports clubs or whatever, you don't have to give those up so that you have to pay your reinitiation a year or two later. You can ask that those be suspended so that if there's a chance you return back to the same city, you can pick them up without having to repay your initiation. In New York City, where you're considering coming, this is both an expensive city if you want to go to the 5-star restaurants, but it is one of the most livable, fun cities with so much to do, and we have so many free events here. MoMA on Fridays after, I think it's 4 o'clock, is free. You can buy time out. There's forever free concerts. All the museums have a free time a day. There's a lot you can do and have a great social life without having it cost you. As I mentioned before, do keep your health insurance. And just a few ideas. We list many more, again, in our blogs and in our book. But some ideas for making money while you're on sabbatical is renting your home or your apartment or an office. Freelance your skills. Write a blog or a book. Or in your case, do some freelance design work. Apply for a grant or fellowship. Be a home companion. Many people who go back to school will work for a senior or elderly person or an ill person who needs someone to sleep in their home from 11 at night till 7. That's a time when you can still be doing some of your work, homework or design. It's not very taxing, but you also make some very good income. You can teach English as a second language, certainly lots of need for that in New York City and other cities. And explore giving lectures. For those of you who want to figure out how to get here from California, go on Craigslist. Someone inevitably wants their car driven out to the East Coast and they don't want to drive it. I mean, there's lots of ways to fund your travel as well as your time here. Good. I just get so excited whenever I hear either one of us talking about what we're doing. And, it gets to the next slide, which is communicating and naysayers. And that's really part of the planning as well in terms of what you communicate to your managers. So if you're currently working somewhere and to Rita's point, you want to try to negotiate a paid sabbatical or paying somehow for the tuition, somehow having your company or your business support you taking the
this leap and step in your career. So you need to involve managers and peers early on, but once you're clear and very settled in yourself about what you want to do, because there's something about when people feel that you're determined and ready, they're much more likely to comply because they really sense your sense of readiness and commitment to that pursuit. And if you are going, then you really do need to talk to peers. You need to think about what the strategy and plan is, who's going to cover your work while you're in classes, who's going to do the things that you would normally be doing, so that you showing them that you have a plan and you care and are concerned about the business continuing to thrive even without you being there. You also need to talk to your professional colleagues, the people in your industry. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How is it going to contribute to you as a professional human being and enhance and improve what you're doing and what you're going to come back with? You also need to bring in friends and family. Friends, and these are also people you need to bring in so that they're positively supporting you, but also who could be potential naysayers. Because there's people who are saying, as we did with the book titles, you're doing a what? You know, that often friends could be threatened or jealous by the fact that you're doing this and they don't have the courage to do it. So you need to find ways of, letting them have their feelings about it, but you staying strong with your convictions about it. But with the family and friends, spouses and partners in particular, and then children, you need to bring them into part of your planning and get them excited about it so that they don't try to hold you back because of their own fears and anxieties. So the more you have thought about it, the more you're clearly planning what you hope to be doing, that they feel comfortable and calm because they see that you're ready to do this. And then, of course, your community, your neighbors, the people that you might be involved and engaged with, you don't want them to pull you back and draw you back or project, again, their own anxieties and fears about what you're now about to do that perhaps they're not ready to do. But what you will find is you become the role model for them. Mm-hmm. They really look to you and say, wow, if you could do it, I can do it. And it's very exciting.
Can I add a couple things to what you're saying?
Sure.
As Jay was saying with your managers, the importance of communicating, even though you have no desire and no intention of ever going back to the same company. Some of you may be in that spot. Never burn bridges. Yep. Those people move on. They move to other places. They may have the job that you're dreaming of after finishing this program. So never burn bridges and always leave a plan. And when Jay's talking about the family, we had so many people whose family, rather than being supportive, and it's only because they love you. They say, why are you doing this? The economy isn't that good, and you have a paid-for job, and you're going to give that up, and if you stay, you're going to be promoted, and at least it's guaranteed. This is going out a little bit on left field. Every single person we spoke to said they had those naysayers, right, particularly parents or friends, and everyone said, you know what, I was scared about reentry, which we talk about in the book, but I had so much confidence and I had new skills and I was so positive about my experience, it's not an issue coming back. But you have to at some point say, this is important to me. I'm enhancing my skill set. I'm doing it in such a relevant area that gives back to our society and plays upon my skill set. And please don't worry for me because I just know in my heart this is the right thing. And if you say it that way, it may not totally stop them, right, but it'll discourage them from being full naysayers.
Yeah, I think it's in anticipating who the naysayers are and building a plan to help to bring them on board with your strategy and get them to be supporters or turn them from naysayers to supporters. So that's great. The others, which sound similar, but it's a little bit different, are sabbatical robbers. And sabbatical robbers are people and situations that now that you've taken the time, you've actually planned it, you're off on your reboot break, your sabbatical, and these are people who say, well, since you're home, since you only have classes in the morning and you're free in the afternoon, could you go to the hospital and take Aunt Ann to her appointment? Can you take care of my kids? Can you volunteer for our fundraiser? Can you? And the biggest sabbatical robber we find is ourselves. By not setting the boundaries, by allowing other things to interfere with our plan and with our goals and strategies. So we look at ourselves first in terms of what we're doing to sabotage and rob ourselves of our goal and our vision for ourselves. Family and friends for sure. Your boss could potentially, pull you in and say, well, we just have this one thing we want you to work on. We just want to ask you a question, sort of taking you away from, the commitment that they've made to you to allow you to have this time off. Same with your colleagues and your community and nonprofit. We've got one person who we know we supported in taking their sabbatical, and their boss knew that this was so critical for this person to have a 4-month leave, both for physical reasons, health reasons, and also career enhancement, that they took their computer away and their phone away so they could not be interfered with. And that was a real commitment from the organization. So even if your company doesn't do that for you, you may want to do that for you to set those boundaries so you don't have that time robbed from you. Because if you're going to take the time, don't flitter it away by letting other people come in and taking it away from you. It's really critical to set those boundaries for yourself. Thanks, Rita. So here's 3 lessons that we found, just 3 key. We have lots of lessons.
There's many more.
Yeah, lots and lots. But I think these were 3 big ones that were kind of repeated throughout the people that we interviewed, and something for you all to think about. And one is traveling light. That we come to different stages in our life where we are burdened and overwhelmed with stuff and things that bog us down, whether it's clutter in our homes, in our cars, in our offices, that clutter our brains and our heads and our minds and our hearts. So one is living light and also traveling light. If you're going to a place, see if you can bring carry-on. See if you can just bring what you need and not carry all these other things that just in case, but really think about what you need to get through from phase A to B. The other is
and the spiritual light.
And the spiritual light, yeah,
as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Really lightening your spirit. And actually, we're always going, all of us and everybody we know is always uncluttering their apartment, uncluttering. Moving is a great time to, and shifting our lives is a great time to reevaluate the stuff that we have and how much of it is really important and what is it that we really need. And really, it helps us focus on what's really critical and what's important. The other is health and wellness. And we're big proponents of this, and for many, many reasons. But taking time for yourself is really a decision to take care of your health and your wellness. And so if you are doing a job that you are no longer satisfied in, and taking this course and doing other things in your life will enhance it and just make your life and experience richer and happier. If you look at the equation for happiness, it is being healthier, fulfilling your passions, and your wellness is so critical to happiness and personal satisfaction and feeling passionate about what you're doing. And critical for our long-term survival as well. I mean, it's critical to have wellness breaks for ourselves. And also there's the lesson of enough. I mean, many of us are perfectionists. Many of us keep tooling and tweaking and, analyzing to come up with the perfect answer, the perfect solution. And, it's really trying to figure out for ourselves, when is it enough? When do we have enough information that we have enough of what we need and that it's not any longer going to stop us by continuing to analyze it, but do I have enough? Whether it's enough stuff, enough friends, enough information, really that's critical to help you to make the decision and to allow you to free yourself to move on. And also to allow yourself to give yourself some time and break for yourself because it's enough now. I can set a boundary and that is enough. And you might have some other things to add to that. Yeah.
Well, I want to reinforce with 2 specific stories on these last 2 because they applied to someone who took off from a fabulous job and went to, in this case, a year-long program, went back to school. In fact, they moved from the Midwest to here, to Columbia. And this one person who did it said they didn't exercise at all. They were in the radio broadcasting field. They were just working their tail off to rise up in the business. And when she arrived, she turned to her fellow classmates and said, do you do a sport? Do you do a sport? Does anybody do anything? And this one person said, well, I swim every day. And she said, would you mind if I tag along with you? Because if I don't tag along with something, I know I won't be motivated. Right. To this day, probably 25 years later, she has swam every single day of her life. This person's enormously successful as an executive, but it was because she put that into her life when she chose to take a break to go to a program just like this. Another person, on what Jay was talking about, the lesson of enough, all her fellow students, in this case they were lawyers, wanted to get straight A's. They were type A people. In your case, it's staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning doing those extra designs. And this one person said to themselves, I want to learn the lesson of enough. I want to do really well. I want to do work I'm proud of. But I don't need to get A's. I don't need to be the top person. So she wanted in her mind to discover, when is enough enough? This person went on to be a TV anchor person. And if you're a TV anchor person, the stories are coming in going, okay, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, this came in, this came in, this came in. Which are we putting in? And this person had to make decisions like that. The lesson of when is enough enough. This person claims they learned that lesson that made them so successful in their career when they took a year off to go to a school for career enhancement.
Right, yeah, that's great. Terrific. Okay, so living the lifelong sabbatical. This is one of my favorite areas of the work that we do. And the chapter that we have on it is really critical because this is sort of where the rubber meets the road, where you've taken your time off, you've pursued the things that you want to pursue, and then you're re-entering back into life. And for us, it's really critical that it's sustainable. And so really considering what living the lifelong sabbatical is about is really sustaining those lessons learned from the time off. I mean, while you shift, and anytime we ever make a shift in whether we move or we change relationships or someone passes away in our lives, some big thing changes. Going to school, making a change in terms of career enhancement is another big shift. And we learn so much about ourselves during those periods of time where we stop and think and really assess how we're feeling, what we're doing, how we're doing what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing. And it gives us time to really learn more about ourselves. One person said that on their sabbatical, they rediscovered me. Really found out the core of who they were, what made them tick, what their pace was, what was really important to them, and they don't want to lose that. So some of the things that we've talked about that are here that help to sustain those lessons learned is journaling. And it's one thing we certainly talk about in our work and really believe in the journaling almost like a meditation. To start your day, 20 minutes a day, really journaling and processing your previous day, how you're feeling, what you're thinking. There's really no ground rule around what you write about, but it helps to process and to keep you in touch with who you are and what's important to you and how you feel about what's been happening. So it's not only cathartic, but it's also helping you process and keeps you reminded of what's important. The other is scheduling time for yourself every day, every week, every month. Rita will share one of her stories when she re-entered after one of her sabbaticals. But that is the most critical thing. So if this program is the thing that you really want, then that is your schedule. But then you still need to schedule things into your life to keep your batteries charged to sustain you during this period, this education period, this enhancement period. So it's constantly staying focused on how do you create wellness and balance so that all aspects of yourself, all the things that are important to you, are in fact in balance. The art and the practice of saying no. So that you can keep that balance, you really do need to say no to some things. You can't be all things to all people. You can't always say yes to everything because something's going to have to give. And with most of us, we give up ourselves. We give up what's important to us. We give up our needs. We give up what are the things that are going to keep us happy. Oh, I can put myself off. I can put the gym off. I can put whatever it is that I'm doing, studying time to do better at class, whatever the things are that are going to keep you balanced, we give those up. So really, the art of saying no is really, really critical. And taking small risks. And we're going to move into an exercise. We're actually going to, if we have time. If we have time. Yeah, I think we do. But the idea of taking small risks, and that is maybe taking this class in this program, this course of study might in some ways feel like a large risk. But imagine if you don't pursue the things and the dreams that you want to live. By not pursuing them, that's almost a bigger risk for your long-term happiness and your long-term career satisfaction. But the smaller risks are little things like walking to work or walking to school a different way each day so that you discover new things about your neighborhood or about the places where you are, see new stores, see new buildings, see new architecture. That's one of the examples of a small risk. Or, deciding to go to different restaurants that you've never gone to, you've never tried before, to experience different foods, different environments, or to cook different kinds of food that you might never have considered before. Going to different movies that you might not have normally not selected, but you'll take a risk and try it. Really, it's the idea of trying new things and testing yourself and stretching yourself beyond what's your normal pattern, so that you start to create new patterns and look at the world differently and see things differently. And maybe Rita, you want to share the story of your scheduling when you came back from your sabbatical? You got the support of your assistant, I think.
Yeah. I have to be helped from myself because whatever I do, I dive into. And so, as Jay said, one of my key jobs when I came back, I turned to my assistant and I said, look, you have to help me. You need to help me schedule downtime. The first thing I did was during one of my sabbaticals, I discovered tennis and I loved it. And I decided I was going to play tennis every single Friday from 8 to 9. So I'd be in the office at 10. You didn't do that at the company I was at, but I was going to do it. And I just said with my assistant, just tell them I'm at an off-site meeting and, don't lie, but I'm just not available. Equally, she would help schedule time when everyone wanted to see me. I'd say, please schedule in the extra 20 minutes between appointments because otherwise I got very cantankerous. Going next. And then I actually scheduled 4 hours a week of just downtime because I'm one of these people, I get the idea, I get so enthusiastic, I want to charge and do it. And I need to spend more reflective time. And it was a problem I knew I had. So again, she helped me block out always that 4 hours just for thought and creative time. But we could go on and all different things. Let me do a time check. How much longer do we have?
6:48, so
about 12 minutes.
Want to leave time for questions?
Yeah. Should we do this next one or go right into questions? What do you think, Jay?
I think maybe
high level?
High level.
Okay. Yeah. This is something we spend at least 4 hours going over, so we're going to spend less than 4 minutes, and this may not work so well. I'm sure every one of you do New Year's resolutions, and you probably write down 3. And you've probably had to lose weight on the last 7 years and you haven't reached your goal. We have a process that we've created among ourselves. We teach it in our workshop. And if you haven't done your goals for this year, and even if you have, we invite you to do a circles goal with us. First, start by taking a circle that's just empty. And how much of your time is spent in major categories? How much is spent at work? How much is spent maybe doing sports? How much is spent doing volunteer time? Whatever it is that you spend your time in. My suspicion is that wedge for today, how things are, might show that 3/4 of the circle are for work. And then you try to wedge in love life, romance, taking care of the dog, whatever. So what we want you to do instead is to create a circle, and you could start with 6 wedges. Don't have to have how many we have here. And just think, what are the important categories in your life? There's no right or wrong answer, and by the way, it changes each year. So it could be, in this case, creativity. You could have a whole category on that. It could be work. It could be finances. It could be giving back. It could be health and wellness. It could be school. Whatever are the major things you think this year, here are the 6 things I want to focus on. And then what we want you to do is under each, list 5 goals. And we want you to be as specific as you can on each goal. So finances isn't learn to save more money. It's have a yard sale by March 30th, and be as specific as you can. And then under each category, take the top one and do a little mini circle, goal circle that you can carry in your purse that just reminds you the balance. Each year, we've now done this several years, we share it, it's a lot of fun. We go back and review it in 6 months, how we're doing. By the way, if you did everything, your goals weren't stretch enough. You know, if you make 3/4 of your goals, you're doing pretty well. You'll find the category that you're not comfortable with. Let's say you are just great on top of your field and you're great at sports and you're great at keeping life in balance, but you want some romance in your life, and that's a little harder. You'll find listing those 5 specific things you're going to do, you'll struggle with, because the thing you're less used to doing is a little harder than the one you automatically do. But we want it to be that you've got at least 6, and you can choose 8 or more, to show that your life is holistic and is balanced, and that each one of those wedges is important to make the other part of your life successful. Anything you want to add to that, Jay?
Well, I think what we hope that it shows for you is that you are in control of how you spend your time and what it is that you do. If you create that ideal scenario of what you want those wedges to be in your life, A, it helps you to assess what they are, and B, as Rita said, to set the goals that you want for yourself and to make them stretch goals. Not make them so easy that you don't need to even write them down because you know you're going to get them accomplished, but to really stretch yourself to achieve the things that you want to do. And we had one exercise that we actually made very bold goals and then sort of bigger high-level goals, and then sort of work down, well, what are some of the things I need to get even close to some of those goals as well. But the idea is really to help you to create the more balanced life that you want, to have all the things in it that will make you happy if these things are included, and then to set it out. And what I think helps us to be accountable to our goals is we share it with someone. So first you need to think about it, then you need to write it down, then you need to verbally share it with someone. So you have someone who's sort of a buddy and a compatriot to help support you in achieving those goals and help hold you accountable. So you said you were going to do that thing by the end of January. Did you sign up for that program? You know, whatever the things are that you're trying to accomplish, have someone talk to you about it and help reinforce you getting it accomplished. So I think we're ready for some questions.
Yes, I have one last quote we have to leave with you. I always knew that one day I would take this road. Yesterday, I did not know today would be the day. So with that, we would be glad to entertain any questions.
There's a couple from earlier in the session, which may or may not be applicable at the end, but one of them from Rishika, by jobs, are freelance jobs part of your statistics, or just 9 to 5 jobs, when you were talking about the statistics early on as far as
job satisfaction?
Job satisfaction.
Yeah, that's a great question, and we don't know the answer because we get them. That's a compilation of several places like Conference Board. My guess is it's not freelance jobs. My guess is it's formal economy jobs, and the figures are probably even more expanded if you include the freelance community.
And then the second one, which you've expanded much more on by now, but AZI asks, could you define sabbatical according to this reboot? This was early on in the program, so you've done a lot more to define that.
Yeah, I think, it's really the term you feel comfortable with. A sabbatical originally was, Sabbath, comes from Sabbath, so taking a break every 7 days. A lot of people interpret it every 7 years. But the idea is really, as we coin and interpret it, as taking the time off that you need to reboot yourself in whatever ways you are needing at that moment. So if you look at the goal circle that Rita just talked you through, that maybe there's an aspect of that you really need to take time away to make that happen and to fulfill that goal and expectation. So the words are somewhat synonymous.
So first of all, someone has asked if you'll repeat the question.
Oh, okay, fun.
What I find wonderful that has been going on is that people have been talking to each other about their own lives and their need for balance. So someone in Egypt is talking to someone in Asia. So
great.
I'm not sure whether you want to comment on that, but you've started this wonderful conversation going on in the world.
Cheryl was just saying that there are several people having conversations as we're talking to one another. Someone in Egypt talking to someone else from another place of the world, and that's the middle of the night. This is global. We worked very hard to have our book not be U.S. based. Right. Of course, our stories are more U.S. centric, but we did interview people. It's equal men and women. We're often asked, don't more women do this? No, yeah. It's equal. And we did interview people from around the world. So please keep that conversation going. Please, if anybody else wants to blog on our website, we'd love your comments, and we invite you to add your experiences. Yeah, we want to start, we're doing this out of love and passion because we've seen the benefits, and we call it joining the movement. So please join our movement and keep those conversations going.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Are there other questions out there that you have about any of the things that we've talked about, or curious to know more about?
We also, at the beginning, this will be up for a while on, I think, the 4th slide. I think our emails were there. But it's jay@rebootbreak.com and rita@rebootbreak.com. And if you have any questions that you think of afterwards, please feel free to email us. And of course, if you have any questions about the program, please feel free to email Cheryl or anyone here.
There's one more question. You have a comment that is a fan comment. Thank you, and it was a very helpful webinar. But someone has asked, how would you deal with a family member who reflects fears for your travels?
Yeah. So the question that Cheryl's posing is, how do you deal with a family member who is reflecting their fear and anxiety about you taking this time off? And is that correct, the question? We can both take a stab at it. I think that this is a very common reaction, and I think first, by sitting down and talking to them about what you're doing, what you want to do, why you want to do it, how you think doing this will benefit not only yourself, but them and your family, by really bringing them along the ride. It helps to reduce the anxiety and the fear and the unknowingness about what's going to happen. You're further along, you've already made the decision, you've thought about this, you've moved forward. Understand it, that you see the benefit of it, that you're going to, this is the outcome of it, what you plan on happening when you're back and how you're going to re-enter. But I think it's the importance of bringing them along the ride with you.
Yeah, I'll add 2 things. My last job, I managed 6,000 people around the world. I had 4 design firms in the group and made beautiful packaging around the world and had 40 manufacturing plants, so a lot of people. And let me tell you, when I interviewed people, and we hired a lot of people, I wanted, number 1, people who had innovation. Number 2, people who had creativity. People who were doing the same old, same old, same old, and didn't have passion in their belly, they didn't work in our group. And this program is all about innovation. So spending time, and I know that's hard with different generations, but spending time saying employers want people who bring innovation, who bring new ideas, who have the latest skill set. Secondly, it's true for me, but we also talked to headhunters. We interviewed recruiters as part of this. And as long as you can explain what you were doing and explain why it makes you a better person, you really enhance your ability to get a job. Because again, Kathy found this when she came back from taking time off and she had no idea what job she was going to do. But before she went to travel around Asia for a year, she wrote to several employers and said, I'd love to work for your company, and here's why I'm taking time off. Lo and behold, she didn't know this, Dun & Bradstreet had saved a job for her. And when she got back, she found out, and by the way, she wrote to them just a month before she was ready to get back to the workforce, and they said, anyone who has the guts to do what you did, who's creative, who's a self-starter, you're exactly the type of person that we want to employ. I think one of the other fears that family members may have is New York City. If you are from anywhere else and your family is not a city person, it's a scary city, and will you be safe, and will you know anyone? Let me tell you, New York City is the best city in the world. People are more friendly than ever. I've lived all around the world. It is as safe or as dangerous, I guess, as any city in the world. I think it's very safe. It's all how you work within it. And with those parents or aunts or loved ones, you just need to say, as Jaye said, this is my passion. This is why I will be more employable and pursuing my dream. And this is why I'll be safe. And then I'd also turn to Cheryl and her terrific team and get some statistics about the school in general and the relevance of why this school was even formed. It's formed because there's a need out there. There's a need around the world to help social entrepreneurs and connecting it with design. And whenever there's an unmet need, there's lots of opportunities. And you just have to tell them that from your belly and your heart.
Yeah. And I would add, maybe have them look at this webinar. It will be recorded. You can have them review it, maybe watch some of the others as well. It would be fun.
I think we're probably out of time, are we?
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you all. Good luck.
Thank you all, and best of luck to you.